Hello, so today I want to talk about my clairvoyance. Now, the last couple of videos I've talked about my claircognizance and my clairaudience, and today I want to talk about my clairvoyance. Now, I'm doing this series, like I said, to help you to understand how your psychic abilities might work also. Now, don't expect your psychic abilities to work exactly like mine, but I'm hoping that maybe this will give you a hint or a better understanding of how yours could work. All right, so let's get into this right now. Now, clairvoyance is another psychic ability. And what does this mean? It is an energetic ability. And to better understand this, you have to understand that we are energetic beings. We are beings of energy. Not only are our physical forms energy, but our energetic forms, of course, are energy too. Now, we have energetic bodies that we use even before we entered into these physical forms. And in these energetic bodies, we didn't have the capacity to speak out loud, right? To do these things, these require a physical form. And so in order to communicate, to receive, and to send information, we did this energetically. And just because we are in a physical form now does not mean that we have stopped using these energetic senses. We continue to use these every day. And like I said in previous videos, they are at varying levels, okay? So my clairvoyance may be less strong than my clairaudience, but yours may be different, and that's okay. That's what makes us unique. All right, so stop comparing yourself to others. Just pay attention to how yours works. And I'm hoping that through this video series that this will help you to better understand how your psychic abilities might work too. All right, so let's get into this. So with my clairvoyance, my clear seeing, my psychic ability for seeing, right? I see things differently than a lot of clairvoyants, because a lot of clairvoyants have a very strong capacity for that visual reference, okay? Now for me, my clairvoyance is more subtle. All right. So for me, it took me a long time to really understand how clairvoyance really worked. All right. And again, like with all your psychic abilities, they are difficult to discern between your own imagination or between your own internal dialogue or between your own internal knowingness. All these things can be a challenge to discern. Okay. And clairvoyance is no different. Okay. So with clairvoyance, it can be difficult to discern between your own imagination, the things that you see in your mind's eye. All right. And for me, that was the case. I had a hard time figuring out how my clairvoyance really worked because it was super subtle. And people would say, well, you can see it. You can see these objects in your mind. And I'm like, okay, but I don't see things in that way. You know, it can be a challenge. You know, sometimes I wondered if I was even seeing things at all. You know, I really wondered about that too. It was really a challenge to figure that out. And what I realized is the way that I was seeing things was kind of like, you know, those magic seeing eye things. I think it was back in like the 80s or the 90s. They had those posters and calendars where they had the images that if you stared at them long enough, an image would kind of pop out of it, right? And it was like a clear image that would pop out of patterns, right? The patterns would kind of pop out of each other, right? And then you'd see like an image of a house or something or whatever, right? But it wasn't like the image was a clear image, like what am I trying to say? It wasn't like you were seeing an actual house. You were seeing like a clear image made of all these patterns, okay? And that's kind of how it works in my brain, okay? It's not like I'm seeing a juicy red apple, like if I'm imagining this right now, right? And it's not like I'm seeing a juicy red apple. It's like I'm imagining that, oh God, it's so hard to explain, but it's like I'm imagining almost like a clear idea of this on a clear space. And I do have another video about this, which I will link down below, which will help to further explain like how this works in my brain. But yeah, boy, it took me a long time to really figure this out. So I do see those images, but it's more like my mind is imagining the idea of it rather than I'm actually seeing it in my mind's eye, if that makes any sense. I know that's a little complicated, but that's kind of how it works. It's like my mind is imagining the possibility of it. And it's not a strong visual reference. Now, for other clairvoyants who are natural to the clairvoyancy, that may be super strong for them. They may see a juicy red apple and it may be so vivid to them that, you know, they might not even understand how my experience is of this. But yeah, for me, it's much more vague. But I still do it, okay? So just because it's not as strong doesn't mean that you can't do it or that you don't have access to it, because you do. You do. It just may be different. And like I said before in other videos, you use all of your clairs, okay, to varying levels. And so if you have one clair that is not as strong or not as developed, or maybe, you know, for some reason it's not going to develop as much, which is okay, then all your other clairs will come to the rescue and help support that clair and help make that clair even more powerful by using the other clairs as support, okay? And so that's what kind of happens for me. Yes, I do see things visually, but not very strong. And so for me, I feel and I know and I hear things much more strongly. And so like if I'm going to be doing a psychic reading for someone, it's going to look very different than a general clairvoyant. So a clairvoyant is going to see things very strongly. They're going to be able to see and imagine and bring those things into their visual awareness in a very strong way. Whereas for me, I rely more on my feeling sense, and I get a feeling from that person. I use my clairsentience first for the psychic readings, and then I will use my claircognizance. I'll get downloads of information, or I may use my clairaudience and I may hear things. And so, yeah, it's just different. And so that's where you have to learn not to expect that your psychic senses are going to work like everyone else's. They're just not, you know? And the more that we get like hung up on that, the more that we expect our psychic abilities to look or feel or sound like somebody else's, the more we're going to be disappointed in our own. And that's what I spent many years doing. I expected mine to look like a clairvoyance, and it's just not. And so when I finally realized that and I just accepted that, then they got a lot stronger, you know, and I allowed for that space for them to look and feel and sound whatever different than I had expected. And that really liberated me and made it so that I could then embrace like how mine represented themselves and how they came forward. And then the more that I followed them and paid attention to them, the stronger that they got. And so I encourage you to do that also. I encourage you to be the scientific observer. Observe how your psychic abilities work. Pay attention to how they manifest specifically and follow them, okay? Because if you do all those things, they're going to get a lot stronger. So yeah, just keep on playing with them. And if you want to know more about how your clairvoyance, your psychic ability for seeing works, I do have another video that will kind of help you to discern more about how it works and how, you know, how to discern between your own imagination, your own visual imagination, and your psychic ability. So check out that video here. I'm going to link it right here. Anyway, I just want to thank you for watching this video series, and I really do hope that this is helping you. Also, like I said, I'm getting very excited about a new video series that I'm going to be doing soon, where I'm going to be interviewing other people and talking about their psychic abilities and how they work. So I'm hoping that this will really help you too. Anyway, thank you so very much for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful day.